Martin Shkreli.
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 Notorious pharma bro, Martin Shkreli.
Hedge fund pharma douche, Martin Shkreli.
The most hated man in America.
The most hated man in America.
The most hated man in America.
The world's most eligible bachelor.
Everyone's favorite supervillain from 2015.
Most hated person in the world.
The most hated man in America.
Douchebag of the year, our two-time D-bag, Martin Shkreli.
Ebenezer Shkreli, otherwise known as Farmer Bro.
Failed to exhibit even the most basic elements of what people would consider a soul.
The world's worst investor.
Privileged entitled prick.
The poster child for capitalistic greed.
Looking like a real slappable prick.
That was a close one. I'm severely allergic to douche.
Do you have any regrets over a lot of the stuff that's happened over the last year? No. Does it ever feel shitty when people call you like the most hated man in America or whatever?
No, I love it.
What do you love about it? I mean, I look at you personally, I feel so shitty. But you seem to get off on it.
Yeah, it's funny.
You never have these moments where you're like, I wish that wasn't like my nickname, or I wish that.
Oh. If I said you were the ugliest person in the world, how would it make you feel?
I don't think I'd get off on it. Probably.
It's obviously not true. It's fascinating that someone would care enough to label you something, isn't it?
I don't know. I think. I think it all depends on my actions, or I don't know.
Probably depends on how insecure you might be.
Well, clearly it doesn't seem like you're insecure at all. Do you have any insecurities?
Sure.
Like what?
I'm worried my. Oh wait, I shouldn't really talk about that publicly.
Why?
My specific insecurity about
Yeah.
No, it's just inappropriate. It's rated R. Let's see. What am I most insecure about? Probably my singing voice. I've been and my chess playing ability is very weak. Those are the two things.
People think that you are evil. I know you know that.
Yeah.
Are you evil?
Am I evil? No. I think I'm the opposite of evil, right? I mean, I think that almost it became a thing where I wanted to agree to do it, like participate in it and say, oh yeah, I am evil. You know, let me be the bad guy. And I started doing funny and fun stuff that maybe even extended that concept of, yeah, sure, I'm evil. I'll be the Bond villain. And but the reality is, you know, you're talking to someone that cares deeply about helping people's lives. So I think the idea that I represent pharma is insane. That I don't. I mean, I don't like most drug companies. I think most of them do a bad job. I think that I'm different. Yeah, I'm a capitalist. I'd love to make an even bigger fortune than I've got now, but I'm not going to do it at the expense of a human life. You know, we sell our drugs for $1 to the government, but we sell our drugs for $7.50 a pill to Walmart, to ExxonMobil, to all these big companies, and they pay full price because fuck them. Why shouldn't they? And if I take that money and I'm using it to do research for dying kids, I think I'm a hero.
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Do you think you've done anything wrong?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
I'd like to yield time to Congressman Gowdy of South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it pronounced Shkreli?
Yes, sir.
See, there you can answer some questions. That one didn't incriminate you. I just want to make sure you understand you are welcome to answer questions, and not all of your answers are going to subject you to incrimination. You understand that, don't you?
I intend to follow the advice of my counsel, not yours.
I just want to make sure you're getting the right advice. You do know that not every disclosure can be subject to the Fifth Amendment assertion. Only those that are that you reasonably believe could be used in a criminal prosecution or could lead to other evidence.
I intend to use the advice of my counsel, not yours.
do you also understand that you can waive your Fifth Amendment right? You gave an interview to a television station in New York where, if I understood you correctly, you couldn't wait to come educate the members of Congress on drug pricing, and this would be a great opportunity to do it. So do you understand you can waive your Fifth Amendment right?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm vexed. He's been willing to answer at least one question this morning. That one didn't subject him to incrimination. I don't think he's under indictment for the subject matter of this hearing. So the Fifth Amendment actually doesn't apply to answers that are not reasonably calculated to expose you to incrimination. And even if it did apply, he's welcome to waive it. And I listened to his interview, and he didn't have to be prodded to talk during that interview. He doesn't have to be prodded to tweet a whole lot or to show us his life on that little webcam he's got. So this is a great opportunity if you want to educate the members of Congress about drug pricing or what you called the fictitious case against you, or we can even talk about the purchase of is it Wu-Tang Clan? Is that the name of the album? Name of the group?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
Mr. Chairman, I am stunned that a conversation about an album he purchased could possibly subject him to incrimination.
Are people ever going to be able to hear this album?
Other than right now, I think it depends. You know, it depends on the world. You know, I think that I could see myself in a place where I break it. You know, and I've seriously considered that. Or just snap it in half and bury the remains of it so no one tries to reconstruct it. And then I've seen a world where I give it away for free, and I've seen a world where I charge for it or something like that. Or let me take this time to remind you of several facts. I will turn 34 years old in a few months. Clearly, this establishes the notion that I am indeed fully grown, and I will not underestimate this simple but serious assertion, as you seem to be treating me like something else. I'm no child, which you will discover shortly. Second, I hail from Brooklyn, the city of Brooklyn, New York. You and your cohorts may not be familiar with this provenance, but I assure you, I have seen and done things which the mere mention of would both frighten you and force you to reassess this situation. Finally, I'm a man of immense power and wealth. My executives have done extensive research on you, and we fail to understand your perspective in this undertaking you have begun. With that in mind, I must also remind you that I am presently out on bail from recent criminal charges levied against me in federal court. My understanding from my colleagues is that you've never seen the inside of a jail cell. Let me tell you, sir, that you would not do well in such conditions. This may also be a good time to mention that the root of my name, Martin, comes from the word Mars, which is the Roman god of war. In many ways, I was born of and am built for the concept of war, which is not a battle that you are prepared for. Given my recent incarceration, allow me to take note that I have no intention to harm you physically, as my bail status would likely be revoked and this quarrel is distinctly below me. You are no Charlemagne. In a separate but wholly unrelated topic, I do have a vast staff that is employed across our great nation. We are aware of the location at which you sleep on a nightly basis. I regret to inform you that despite my request that my employees refrain from harming you, they are a rowdy and difficult group to control.
And this is literally straying even further away. You talk about being upset. Harambe, who is the gorilla that was killed at the Cincinnati Zoo. You on Twitter talk about caring so much about him, that the life meant so much. The Cincinnati Zoo has come out and asked people to stop using memes, and you've used a lot of memes in social media. How is that respecting Harambe by doing that when they're asking to stop in order to honor him?
Sure. So as a sort of moonlighting scientist, you know, I work a lot with non-human primates. We call them in the labs NHPs. So any rhesus monkeys, capuchins, all the way up to the higher order species. I have, my brother and I especially, have this deep fondness for animals that are so close to humans, so remarkably close. In fact, there are bonobos that can even communicate with you on a one-to-one level. And
tell jokes and be sarcastic and funny and even flirt with you. It's unbelievable how human-like these creatures are. And the idea that we just shot this animal in cold blood and we don't have to debate, whether or not that was a good idea.
Save a child is the argument. And just if you're going to say you shot him in cold blood, to save a child
To be honest, it's painful to even talk about this. But let's get back to the issue, which is that in this country, I don't think we value non-human primate life the way we should. I think these animals actually should have rights, believe it or not.
But if they did, Martin, they wouldn't be able to be used in the pharmaceutical industry, which is what you were talking about.
I don't think they should be. I do a lot of I've overseen the death of thousands of these animals.
It's your fake ass eyebrows. What's up?
Wait. Hold up. You talking about me?
Yeah.
All right, let me talk about you. Your fucking face disturbs me, but that's not why I called in. Why I called in is because you're a stupid piece of shit. You're misappropriating black culture.
Oh, really?
Yes you are. You think you're so fucking smart. What you're doing is you have fucking killed people in Africa. And you're so obsessed with black people. Why are you so obsessed with black people, but you're killing people in Africa by jacking up the prices of AIDS and HIV and AIDS and malaria medications? The medication. So fuck you, okay? And
I heard you on
105.1 talking to Charlemagne saying that you wanted to smack Ghostface Killer.
I will smack him. I'll smack him. I'll smack you too.
I wish you would.
I'll tell
you my address. I'll tell you my address. I'll actually pee it to you.
Come on.
Listen, Ghostface Killer will smack the dog shit out of you. That's first of all. Second of all, you are a fraud. You're probably going to go to jail. You've been arrested on federal charges. You're misappropriating black culture.
No.
You're a fucking wigger.
Culture.
That's what you are. You act like a
my
wigger.
culture. I own it.
You act like a wigger.
I bought it. I bought the culture. It's mine.
Why do you sound ridiculous?
I bought the culture. I paid for it.
You bought what culture? What culture did you buy?
I bought all of it.
You bought nothing, honey.
Yes.
You bought nothing.
You think I can't be black with enough money? Well, let me tell you something. With enough money, I'll be black.
With enough money, you probably can have some kind of surgery that'll give you the melanin that you want so badly. That you want so badly, but you will never be black. I don't even think you want to be black. I think you want to act black because you think it's cool. But what you are is a wigger, a freaking entitled, subpar intelligent white man. Okay? Subpar intelligent. You went to high school, you couldn't even hack it there. You went to Baruch.
I think that, on one hand, we all want someone to blame, and the drug company seems like it's the easiest group to blame. But I actually think the blame is a little different in this situation. Mylan is not, this company that's making a ton of money, surprisingly. They're a generics company, so they sell generic drugs at low prices, 90% off sometimes. And if I just look at their financial statements, and they make 8 cents for every dollar they sell. That's not a lot. That's not a lot by any business standards. So the idea that they're this, big company that's gouging people and making tons of money, I don't think that's quite true. But at the same time, of course, we all have to have sympathy for the family and the patient that they can't afford an EpiPen. So I think the answer is actually the fault here, and I don't love to blame my payers. The fault here lies in the insurance companies, because ultimately EpiPen is actually a bargain. At $300 a shot, it's $600 and they make you buy the 2-pack, but it's $300 a shot. It saves you all of the costs of going to the emergency room, going to the ambulance. That just an ambulance ride can be $1,000, right? So the idea that one shot at $300 can save you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 is actually a pretty good bargain. And if you're an insurer, you should love to pay for this stuff.
But I think when people hear this, you're talking about a life-saving pen. Yeah. So there's no bargain. There's life or death is how they see it.
Well, if the alternative is a $20,000 trip to the ER where they hit you with adrenaline and epinephrine there, $300 in your own home is a good deal. And the point is that the patient should never pay a dime. If I ruled the world and I could set up all the systems, insurers, if they were smart, they'd want to do this tomorrow. They'd say, you know what, I want to pay for every EpiPen, every penny. I don't want patients or their families to pay a cent, because it saves me money. Because then I'd have to pay $20,000. Maybe 1 out of 10 times someone can't afford it. Well, they're going to end up in the ER anyway, and then someone's going to have to pay $20,000 for something.
Do you actually, Mackenzie, you actually think there's like some kind of conspiracy about HIV?
I think that the government makes it harder for.
What does the government have to do with it?
Because they're getting money from the drugs.
The government's making money from the drugs? What?
Did you see that guy? He looked like fucking Mr. B.
Help me understand that. Why would they lose money?
Because they lose money on the preventative drugs that they're getting.
Why would they do that? Wouldn't the preventative drugs be even more expensive?
Well,
I would charge like 20 times as much for a preventative drug.
Yeah.
Maybe you should stick to acting. That pretty face wasn't meant for thinking.
I mean, obviously, I'm not like, I don't work in the pharmaceutical business.
Yeah, no shit.
But just my 2 cents right there, okay?
Yeah. Don't think too hard. You might hurt yourself.
Okay.
Fucking, insults to people like me who work their asses off to develop actual.
I'm not trying to insult you. I was just giving my 2 cents.
Yeah, but I know you're not trying to, but you did, and just don't think too hard. It's really kind of sad. I mean, people like me and my colleagues who work our asses off to try to make great new drugs, and you think there's some fucking conspiracy.
Then you increase them 8,000%.
Yeah, we need to make money.
That's not fair, though.
It's not fair. What do you do for a living? What if your actress gig paid you $2
drug on the entire
a few months? I wonder if you would do anything differently. And the second is, I'd like to know if you think corporate reputation matters.
I probably would have raised the price higher, is probably what I would have done.
Why?
I think healthcare prices are inelastic. I could have raised it higher and made more profits for our shareholders, which is my primary duty. And again, no one wants to say it. No one's proud of it. But, this is a capitalist society, capitalist system, and capitalist rules. And my investors expect me to maximize profits, not to minimize them or go half or go 70%, but to go to 100% of the profit curve that we're all taught in MBA class.
I was making fun of him because he raised money $5 at a time from poor people. I thought that was funny, so I gave him the maximum amount of money possible as a joke. I'm like, hey bro, I'll help you out, as a joke.
Yeah.
Because I was making fun of him.
Were you a Bernie supporter?
No, he's an idiot.
No.
Anyone who supports him is an idiot.
So who are you supporting?
I don't support anyone.
Oh, okay.
Last time I checked,
Well,
you didn't have to vote. You're a big Bernie supporter?
I am a Bernie supporter,
Yeah.
but I guess I'm just an idiot.
How does that L feel?
How does that help anybody?
How does the L feel?
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel anyway? Because it probably burns.
Have you talked to the infectious disease community to see if anyone's being harmed by your new product?
I actually do think you guys support it because you're not excluding our drug, are you?
No. If doctors want to use your drug,
So it sounds like you're all good.
We are all good with our dollar solution. That's true.
You're all good. So if someone writes a prescription right now for Daraprim, you're still accepting it.
That's correct.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your business.
With Daraprim, do you have any regrets about how fast you took the price up, how far you took it, or how public you were?
Well, I think that, when you're caught in the perfect storm of political season, it's easy to become a target for unwarranted, I think, aggression. And if you look back, one of the things that I noticed as I look back is that the President Obama and his administration said absolutely nothing about drug prices throughout the entire period. And I asked one of the people in his camp, why is he staying silent on this? Why isn't Joe Biden saying something? Why isn't President Obama saying something? He said very curtly, they're not running. And so it's really a populist issue, and I think was blown out of proportion. And so in terms of regret, I think maybe not seeing that as acutely would have been a minor regret. But because the price increase has stuck, so to speak, I don't really. That's the main mission, was to raise the price and have it generate increased revenue. That's happened. So I'm happy with respect to that.
Martin has been trolling me, either since the gaslighting article for Teen Vogue went viral or since Tucker Carlson segment went viral.
Right.
And tweeting at me that he wants to date me. And I don't know if he has any part in this, but people have been messaging me that I should sleep with him.
Sunday, Duca noticed that Shkreli had changed his Twitter profile picture to an image of her in which Shkreli's face was photoshopped onto that of another man. The other man was actually her husband, okay? Yeah. And then in his bio, he had written, I have a small crush on Lauren Duca, hope she doesn't find out. And it just continued. He kept tweeting things to her, you know, let's take a look at the next graphic where you see the Photoshop picture and all the creepy things. And so Duca actually sent this to one of the executives at Twitter, and she's like, how is this even allowed, right? Let me give you another example. Here's a message that he had sent to her. Hey, I have a +1 to the inauguration if you want to be my +1. She said, I would rather eat my own organs.
At the end of the day, you know, it definitely felt like, look, the guy was taking shots at me. In the hip-hop game, as we all know, it's not easy to be on the receiving end of those things without jumping back. But
you're not hip-hop. You're
whatever.
a
It doesn't matter, man.
guy.
It doesn't matter. You can look, even in finance, you take shots. It's not even a hip-hop thing. It's a man thing. You take shots at me, I'm going to come back at you, especially publicly. Especially publicly. And that's just basic bravado and the basic, you know, manhood. You know, I'm not going to let him steal on me for what?
I feel like you want to be famous, which is crazy to me because you're worth $45 million.
A lot more than that, but anyway.